I am standing in front of the University of Prishtina cafeteria. I hear that they have long lines and crappy food. Or at least that's what the students were saying back in 1981. Now somehow, a protest over cafeteria problems at a university ended up impacting geopolitics. I'm going to explain. So in 1981, students here at the University of Prishtina protested over this cafeteria. That protest grew, and it actually turned into something in which people were calling for the then Yugoslav province of Kosovo to become its own republic. It was part of Serbia within Yugoslavia, and Kosovar Albanians were protesting, calling for Kosovo to become a republic within Yugoslavia. That protest spread all over Kosovo, and it became violent, and the different protests were suppressed by Yugoslav police with force. People were injured, and it became a major deal out of just a small protest over poor food and long lines at a cafeteria. Now the timing of that was very important. It occurred in 1981. Well, in 1980, Joseph Broz Tito died, and that had a big impact on the situation in Kosovo. In the Tito years, Kosovar Albanians had a lot to complain about. They, at that point, had become the vast majority here in Kosovo, but there were issues with arrests and imprisonment of Kosovars, Yugoslav police, and courts claiming that they were Albanian sympathizers working for the rival country of Albania at the time. Also, there was a whole lot of poverty in Kosovo. Kosovo was the poorest region in Yugoslavia, and Islam was not tolerated. But Tito really did not tolerate nationalism or religion at all in the country, so things remained relatively calm in Kosovo in the Tito years. Relatively. Well, that changed after his death. There were the protests in 1981, and then throughout the 80s, nationalist sentiment was increasing, and in the late 80s, Slobodan Milosevic rose to power in Serbia. Milosevic tried to reverse some of the autonomy that was given to Kosovo. In the Tito years, Kosovo was given status as a semi-autonomous province, and also after there were a lot of complaints about lack of education in Albanian, Kosovo was granted Prishtina University. Now, when Milosevic came to power, he tried to reverse that. There was heavy police crackdown in Kosovo, and in the 90s, Kosovo declared independence, albeit it didn't work, it wasn't recognized. And then in the mid-90s, the KLA formed, the Kosovo Liberation Army formed. And the Kosovo Liberation Army went to war, and after numerous terror attacks, or to Albanians, acts of freedom fighting, they might say, war broke out. The Kosovo War started in 98, and then in 1999, after making numerous threats and after peace talks failed with Milosevic, NATO intervened, and there was the bombing for 78 days that finally put an end to the war. Well, this cafeteria behind me, in a sense, kicked kicked all that off, or it sped up the process of shit hitting the fan in Kosovo. It came right after the death of Tito, and at the time when nationalist sentiments were on the rise, and because of that, the protests over cafeteria food that took place right behind me really impacted world history. It's an interesting little story here in Prishtina, and I'm going to be getting into a little bit of the Serb perspective in the next video. Stay tuned.